We are coming to you live tonight from Algiers Point in New Orleans, and I would like to introduce you to my friend, Mr. Go. Mr. Go, which is what everybody calls him here. It's M-R-G-O, Mr. Go, the Mississippi River Gulf Outlet. Mr. Go was hacked through cypress swamps and coastal marshes, hacked through wetlands to connect the Mississippi River and the Gulf of Mexico by a means shorter than nature intended. Building Mr. Go in the 1950s and the 1960s moved more dirt than digging the Panama Canal. Its impact was disaster. Mr. Go, I have come to believe, is trying to kill New Orleans. Mr. Go channels salt water inland, where it's blamed for killing 100 square miles of wetlands. It is a perfectly designed system for channeling the storm surge from a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico right into the dead center of New Orleans. You can thank Mr. Go for dumping a significant portion of Lake Borgne into St. Bernard Parish during Hurricane Katrina. You can thank Mr. Go for funneling the storm surge all the way up from the Gulf and dumping it into New Orleans East, and then Gentilly, and then the Bywater, and then Tremé, and then the lower Ninth Ward. A federal judge ruled last year that the Army Corps of Engineers is responsible for much of the flooding after Hurricane Katrina because Mr. Go was responsible for much of the flooding after Hurricane Katrina, and Mr. Go was an Army Corps of Engineers gig. Why did they build Mr. Go in the first place? What was so important that it was worth causing all of that damage, putting New Orleans against all of that risk? What was worth 100 square miles of wetlands and a Hurricane Alley storm surge funnel right into the heart of New Orleans? What was worth it? The year before Katrina, taxpayers spent $13 million dredging Mr. Go, making it even worse. What was worth all that? What does Mr. Go do? What's Mr. Go for? It's for shipping. It's for the shipping industry. And Mr. Go even sucked at that. Before the storm hit, Mr. Go was carrying a grand total of approximately 5 ships per week. That's all. Well, now Mr. Go is closed. It is closed at least to those 5 ships a week it used to get. It has a little dam over the end of it, and they're supposed to get around someday to trying to get back those 100 square miles of wetlands Mr. Go killed, to shut down the Hurricane Alley that Mr. Go aimed right into the heart of the great city of New Orleans. It is too late, of course, but at least, finally, Mr. Go has closed. Mr. Go is gone. The reason that Mr. Go is important, and the reason that Mr. Go being closed is good, is obvious in retrospect. But is Mr. Go being closed a sign that we are getting slightly less stupid about picking fights with God down here, about trying to manhandle the river, about waging war on the land? When the French founded New Orleans in 1718, it was a smart place to put a city, believe it or not. It was perfectly placed for shipping access and fishing and trade and all good things about being on a river with access to the Gulf. Sure, the Gulf has always been known for hurricanes, but New Orleans was safe. This was high ground, deep inland, surrounded by hundreds of square miles of the best thing anyone's ever invented to disperse and mitigate the power of storms. It made sense to put New Orleans here, where it is, because New Orleans was safe. It was safe from storms here because it was surrounded by hundreds of miles of wetlands. Wetlands that we promptly set about destroying, carving canals through them, filling them in, draining them, and stopping the Mississippi from continuing to build them and protect them from erosion. We built walls all along the river. We built dams, and we dredged channels so that all the silt and the muck that used to filter into the wetlands and expand them and replenish them when they would otherwise erode, it either got trapped behind dams or we mechanically picked up that silt with dredgers and then dropped it way offshore, out of our way, to make nice, deep shipping channels, all in the service of industry that made this city make sense here in the first place, but that now threatens the existence of this place, the city and the region itself. Louisiana loses about a football field-sized piece of land every 40 minutes or so, which means this is what's happening to the Louisiana coast over the course of decades. It's literally disappearing. The result of all our picking a fight with God handiwork is that New Orleans, in effect, has moved. The city has not picked up and shifted, but the result of us waging war on the river, waging war on the geography here, thinking we know better, keeping the river from building land like it wants to, the result is that New Orleans is 20 miles closer to the sea than when it was founded. Because what used to be land, what should be land, is now water. But now, on this 5-year anniversary of Katrina, after a near existential blow to this city, hey, thanks, Mr. Go, we are now making a whole new set of decisions to try to keep this city here. The Hurricane and Storm Damage Risk Reduction System, that's its name. I would prefer, of course, something more nicknamey like Mr. Go. The new post-Katrina, you and I paid for its system to try to protect this city is a $15 billion project that is a 350-mile-long ring of concrete and steel, 350-mile-long ring of flood walls and levees, giant ones, and closable 32-foot-tall steel gates that can try to stop storm surges, and a giant diesel-powered pumping station that, I kid you not, can drain 15 Olympic-sized swimming pools in 1 minute. Woohoo! Is this New Orleans fortified like it always should have been? Or is this more and better and more expensive fighting with God? Is this still more man versus nature? Because hint, hint, nature always wins. Are we restoring the river? Are we restoring the system that made New Orleans make sense as a city in the first place? Or are we just doing the same thing we've always done here, insanely hoping that this time the result will be different? We are going to try to find out. Please stay with us. Live from New Orleans.